Live from Utah's Wasatch Front, the pulse of the Mountain West, where the issues that shape your life meet the truth that sets you free. Across Utah, across the Republic, and around the world, welcome. This is KMMU.
You're live.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us tonight. You are at Political Head Trauma, and I am your hostess, Holly Crowley Rayboni, and I have Mr. Producer in the background helping me out today. Hi, Dwayne. Say hello to our fans, if you want.
Hello, fans.
Thank you.
I'll just be here in the background pushing buttons. Okay.
Well, thank you very much. I know a lot of people out there are excited. Tonight, we are welcoming Representative Nicolene Peck, who represents District 28, and that covers all of Tooele. And she is remarkable. She's a friend of the show. We've been lucky enough to have her on many times, but she handedly won her convention, and she is the Republican Party nominee onward to the primary, and we're very proud of her. She's run a really good race, and I'll probably say this during the interview with her, but I have to tell you all that there's something about a candidate or an elected, bigger for an elected, who actually makes the time to do town halls, to come out and talk to her constituents, to set up an open dialogue on the socials, to answer actual phone calls, emails. Like she tries to answer every single person, even during a busy few months or couple months at the Capitol while they're in session. So I really respect that about her. And I also love that she has been fighting for families, and that's been part of her entire character since long before we ever got a hold of her as a representative. So we were really excited to see her do so well at convention. Candidates are always nervous when it comes to convention because they never know. They think they know, and they've kind of gauged how delegates feel about them. And good candidates will literally ask a delegate to give them their support, and they will ask straight up, if you are supporting me, can I count on your support, so that they can write a check mark next to a person's name. And so I'm sure that she's done that, but I also know that there's always that tinge of, well, maybe I didn't do enough, maybe somebody will change their mind. My competitor is a nice person. She's got good ideas, and she might have, talked to them after. So all those questions come up for every candidate. And so I was really proud of her. She did excellent at convention. And to give you a little highlight on our convention here in Tooele County, Sheriff Paul Wimmer also gained the status of nominee, of Tooele County Party's nominee. He won really big at convention. I believe it was 78%, which I think he's done higher in the past, but it was really high. And our convention was awesome. We had it at Excelsior Middle School, and a shout out to Excelsior because you guys are so great. And they gave us the location, and we were able to have a wonderful convention. Almost all of our delegates showed up, and we had a wonderful evening. And all of the candidates there were given time to speak. And there was a reception a couple hours beforehand. So you go in as if you were a delegate or someone off the street, you go in and talk to them. And it was really great. And Scott Sandel, our senator for District 1, he was also there. And he won at convention, at the state convention. State convention was fantastic, in my opinion. Other than an early morning vote for my district, and that vote, a lot of us were not able to get in because we were given wrong directions. But other than that, it was a fantastic day. really well run, in my opinion. I'm proud of Rob Axon. I'm proud of his team. And it just was really fun to be there. So, yeah, thankfully we did really well. And here we go, right? We're on to the primaries. Now, for the seat I was running in District 29, the Alexis Wheeler won the delegate nomination quite handedly as well. And her competitor, who is Sheldon Birch, he is going on to the primary because he engaged in signatures as well as convention. So he worked at delegates all the way through, also gathered signatures. So I've invited both of them to be on the show, and I hope to hear back over the next week. And I'd like to get Alexis on next week if she's available. And I promise to keep y'all informed. That was the seat I was running for. And it is a special, due to health problems, I stepped down, but it is such a special location because it's Millard County, Juab County, and most of Tooele County. And we've got that small town, rural Utah feel, even though we are 30 minutes from Salt Lake. But our issues are very, very different than Salt Lake's. And so I do love the people of my community and facing those issues head on. And I have to say, I was so touched. I don't know if he'd care that I said this, but I got a call last night from Jason Chaffetz and wishing me all the best. He was sad that my campaign was suspended, and he was so kind. He and his wife, Julie, are phenomenal people. And he is a dear friend, and it meant so much to me that he was calling in just to check in on my health and to see what I'm doing. And I'm sure I'm going to get him on the show soon. And he's just been a big supporter, and I'm truly grateful for that. It was amazing to hear from him. So tonight, I want to hear from all of you. I would love to hear your ideas with what's going on in Iran. Do we think the war is over? It feels like Trump has mentioned that we are at the end, and so is Marco Rubio. And it's been a while since we've heard from Marco, so I was happy to hear that. However, the Hormuz Strait is still not getting through like we'd like, and gas prices are still going up and up and up. Now, that is in our faces daily. And when you look at the polls regarding the blame for gas prices, Trump is getting the most blame, and he's actually doing horribly in the polls, which I know matters a lot to him, as it should, of course. But it's not just Democrats, it's Republicans as well. It's MAGA as well. And I think you get into a two-sided here, because people will say often, you cannot blame gas prices on a president. And they'll say that when it was Biden and gas prices were going crazy, and when it was Obama, and when it was even Bush after we started a war there. The thing is, either you can or you can't. A lot of these gas prices are skyrocketing because it's based on futures. So we may have the oil, but it's what are we going to have it? This strait needs to get figured out. Safety needs to be an absolute, and it's not just for Americans, it's got to be worldwide. They base it on a worldwide scale. So I think that if Americans or our military is accompanying other ships across the strait to make sure that all the ships for our allies at least are getting through, but at the same time, we should probably be helping China get theirs through too, only because if they're gas prices and they're not getting gas, the prices get an opportunity to keep going up. And I think that we can't afford our daily lives. And if you think it's bad just in your tank, just know you have to expect that your food prices will go up, your clothing, your toys, and anything else that you own, because everything is made with gas or oil, and to get it shipped to you costs ridiculously high. You see how much diesel costs. Every time you see diesel go up, $5 and $6 a gallon, just know they're going to get their money somehow, because shipping is astronomical when gas prices are that high or diesel fuel is that high. So I would like to hear your guys' thoughts.
How you doing?
What is that? Producer. I don't know what that sound was. Producer. Did I
You're
lose
doing
you?
fine.
Okay. I didn't
Can you
know
hear
what
me?
the sound was. Yes, I can hear you.
I don't know either. It was like probably an ad or something that
Like
popped
a
up. Who knows?
pop-up? That's
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah.
So
But you're good.
if you're tuning in now and you are on YouTube, and you're looking, I'm gonna share this on Facebook, and I hope that if you're seeing this on Facebook after the fact, please join us on YouTube, at least for the meantime, at KMMU on YouTube or Main Street Media. Mr. Producer, what exactly is the YouTube channel?
It is YouTube at Main Street Media.
Thank you, sir. And also Political Head Trauma, all separate words. And we are on that on YouTube as well. So hi, William. He says, hi, Holly, good evening. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate that. So with William, he's joining us on YouTube. I'm going to share this link on Facebook. And if by chance you found us on Facebook, just know, tune in with us every Wednesday at 6 p.m. And hopefully, eventually I can figure out, Mr. Producer's helping me figure out how to do all of this from home. And without my beloved Jared to help me, I am still a student and learning. And thanks to Dwayne, I'm able to do that. So big shout out to you.
We'll take care of you as best we can, Holly.
You're the best.
I miss Jared too.
I'm sure you do.
Well,
So,
yeah. He went back to school, and God bless him for that. So that's
Yeah.
his excuse. He's in school.
He's the best. So I'm going to share this now on Facebook, and then I just ask that you join us. You join us on Wednesday nights and leave a comment if you would, and maybe like and subscribe if you don't mind. Here's what I'm hoping to do. I'm really trying to gauge our viewers and where they're at. There is something that I'm going through myself that I find that I'm not alone in when I talk about it. And that is my unhappiness with where our current president is some of the, to say that I fully support him, and I am so glad that with him not the alternative, right? So I'm going to preface by saying that first and foremost. But I also find myself just saying, hey, we've got a lot of oil reserves. Trump says that we've got more than even Saudi Arabia. Maybe we use those. Maybe we look at preserving the first. And the very hardworking moms out there that are trying to get work and can't afford it, and trying to at least alleviate some of this attack and this situation in Iran was supposed to be about 8 weeks, and I'll give him that. But I think that people will not forget this when it comes to the midterms. And I'm worried about the primaries. And I believe the numbers will show how little people are going to participate in those. And I think that is a precursor to what November looks like. I don't assume that Republicans will. In fact, I worry very much that we will not have it. And then we have 2 years of fighting and nothing getting done, and potentially just getting him out. And I don't like any of it. Everything okay, sir?
Holly, we've lost your video. So go down to the bottom. Can you turn your video on and off?
That's weird.
Your camera's not working. You got blocked.
Oh my goodness. Okay, I'm gonna leave and I'm gonna come back because I've done nothing, so I don't know what has
Exit
made
out,
that happen.
exit out and come back in because you were doing fine and then something blocked your camera.
But you could still hear me.
It's
Still hear me?
I can hear you fine, but we can't see your lovely face. So
Okay.
exit out, come back in, and I'll hold down the fort.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. We will see if Holly reappears when she comes back. She's running off of a pad, and they do funny things. So we'll see. Come on back, Holly. I think she was talking about the war. The war. I've been anti-war since 1971. So, oh, here she comes. Let's see. No, your camera's still blocked.
That's weird. I can see you. And I
You
can
can
see
see me, but we can't see you. Hang on. Let me try something here.
what?
You should have a. Well, you tried it before. There's a camera button down there. There's a video button. Turn it off. Turn it back on.
All right.
Try that. Nope, they're not coming back.
Okay. Let me try one more time.
Wonder why. Your camera's blocked. Okay, now your mic's off and your.
Hi there. I'm just waiting until Holly's here to start.
Well, Holly was here and then she lost her video. Okay, so hang on a second. Let's do this.
Okay.
So for now, it's you and me.
Okay.
Okay, hang on a second.
Are we live already? Oh, we have been
Yes.
live.
Yes,
Okay.
we're live. And Holly's got something going on with her pad. Okay, and I'm not sure what it is, but hang on.
Okay.
You're Nicolene, right?
Yes.
She was talking about you. Let's see if she comes back in. Oh, there she is. Yes. I thought it was you coming in, Holly, and I brought Nicolene in.
Oh, fantastic. Well, that's perfect. Well,
Okay,
I'm so happy. Thank you, Mr.
We're going to try this
Producer.
again. I'm going to disappear.
Sounds good.
All right.
Okay. Welcome, Nicolene.
Thank you. There's a little bit of an echo coming from your side.
Really?
Are you on 2 devices?
I am.
That might
But
be.
both my devices, I mean, this one's totally like silent and muted. So, Mr. Producer, is there anything you can do to help that?
I believe you're good now. I think the echo is gone.
True.
Perfect. Okay, well, I am so happy to see you. And I wanted to say congratulations on a fantastic convention. As a convention-only candidate and a true GOP respect for the delegates and all the hard work you did, I wasn't surprised. But I mentioned earlier that I can only imagine that you probably did have that tinge of, did I do enough? Did I get enough done? Every candidate has that, right?
Oh yeah.
Did you expect to win so big?
For sure. Yeah. So the win was good. It was a really good size. I actually wasn't sure how large the margin would be, but I was just under 78%. So that was a really good margin. And that's, that's a pretty unusually large win. So I was happy for that. I did go multiple times and, try to talk to every delegate every which way I could. I had multiple conversations with many. There were multiple of them that said, yes, you have my support, but then there were some I wasn't sure. So going in, you're never 100% sure exactly how it's going to turn out, but it did turn out really great. And the delegates really, came through for me, and I was grateful for that. And it's so neat to see how serious they were.
Yeah.
I think people don't always understand the beauty of the caucus system, the convention system, the delegates, what they do, what it means to vet. Okay. And I think this is huge. There were a couple of people during the process, the convention process, and when we were having events and stuff like that, talking negatively about the caucus system. And I was actually really surprised about that. I thought, are you telling me that a person who signs a paper when someone is paid to bring it to their door, that signs a paper that says, hey, so-and-so should be on the ballot, that they're vetting you?
Right.
They're not vetting you. When I sit with a delegate, I'm there for like an hour. A half hour is like a short time. There's a few of them who are like, you know what, I'm good. I know everything I need. I've researched you. There's a couple that do that, because they've really been digging and doing their research. But the majority, they want to ask you all kinds of stuff. What about this? And what about this? And how do you feel about this policy? What about this federal policy? But what about this local policy? What about this state policy? And they want to ask you all kinds of things and really test, what you've done, what you think. And that vetting process is beautiful because their neighbors elected them to come and do all of this work. And to really find what the neighbors would agree with.
Right.
And I think that we saw that really happen in my election at convention. Well, I shouldn't say election. It was an election, but it was a nomination, I guess we should call it. Sure. Anyway, but yeah, makes it so I don't have to do a primary, which is nice. And this was an interesting thing. Our county clerk came up to me and she said this funny thing. She said, well, thank you for winning big enough that you saved the county a lot of money. And I said, oh, really? And she said, oh, yeah. When there is not a candidate that has to go to a primary, it saves a lot of money. So then that made me think, well, so all these candidates that are doing signatures then are actually charging the citizens in the county more money because they're not wanting to do the vetting process the same way. And I thought that was a really interesting thing. I know some people recommend to certain candidates you should. They don't know why they are doing it or not doing it or whatever. They just sign up for it. But I love the vetting process. And if I ever can't get the delegates to vet me, then I guess I shouldn't be in.
I feel the same way. I think when you have such a small group of people that you need to meet and convince that you're the right candidate, and your resources and your time and energy all go into those people, I think it's a beautiful picture of what the primary or the general would look like, because you are pooling from a percentage of the population that represents their neighbors. It's a true republic principle, like a form of government, our republic. It's a true principle of that your neighbors tell you to go and meet these people and fill us in on what you learn and what you think and who you're picking, and so you get a little bit of a glimpse of exactly how, if it's done right, which I love the delegates of our county. I think they are amazing because a lot of them do exactly what they're supposed to do, and that is return back to their caucus and let everyone know, their precinct, what they've learned and what decisions they're making and how they're voting.
Mm-hmm.
And that way, if someone has something to say about that, they can have that dialogue and actually convince their neighbors for the reason for their vote. So I love that it is one of the principles of our party in this state, and we've been able to preserve it as long as we have. And you're right, when someone gathers signatures, that then requires the county clerk to come up with funding in order to run that election. And, it is, I've seen it get played a little bit to where, we've seen it in the past where the voice of the delegate doesn't meet with the masses, right? State delegates will put through an excellent candidate, and yet that candidate won't win in the general.
Can happen. Yeah.
And it's happened with our governor's race, with our Senate race, recent. And so what I think what's happening there is maybe our delegates are not getting back to their precincts and explaining why they've chosen this candidate and why they like this candidate. And if we could just fix that part of it, that disconnect, I think we could go a lot better, and our generals will match better what our convention does.
When so I've lived out in Tooele County for 28 years. I've been in 2 different precincts at each side of town in Tooele, and both of those precincts have a like return and report culture, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like, what are you doing? And they have their own like Facebook pages, and they have meetings and like, hey, we're going to get the group together and we're going to get the word out about what happened. And they're very, very active. I'm not sure every caucus has the same, or, every precinct has the same, type of leadership that's that active. But I do know that when I was meeting with delegates, so I had 64 delegates, and that may sound like a small number, but if you're going to go meet for an hour with each one of those delegates, and I'm going to say hour average, because by the time you call them so many times, send them things if you can't get them, you stop by multiple times, they're not there.
And you're saying at least once. Most times you're trying to get in front of them 3 times.
Multiple times. Yeah, exactly. So you just add that up. You don't even do the events. You don't even do any of the other things that you're doing. I mean, that is a lot of hours. 1 hour for that's 64 hours. That is like almost 2 work weeks. And then by the time you go to the other events too, we're talking a couple of work weeks just for my race, right? And the Senate race would have more people. I mean, our county council members, they have less. And I know some people are like, well, yeah, but it's so little. It's only 20, or it's only, that's still 20 hours at least that they should be putting into talking to those people. And they should be able to get the majority of 20 of their, of people to support them, to know that they've got a good standing, right? So anyway, it really is a ton of work, and but I love it. I love the conversations. And one thing that I was going to share just related to that return and report is, so I'm meeting with all of these, delegates. I can't even tell you how many. I mean, it was many of them that said, hey, you know what? Have you ever met my neighbor so-and-so? They do this job. Have you ever, I was just talking to them, or I'm sitting out on their porch and they're like, hey, neighbor, come over here and talk with Representative Peck. Have you met Representative Peck? And you were talking to me about something the other day. Why don't you come ask her right now? And then all of a sudden the neighbors are getting in on it and having conversation with me. And I'm like, this is exactly what it should be like. We should be having good civil discourse as communities of people like they did in the old days. We shouldn't be afraid of talking about political matters, ideological debates. We shouldn't be worried about that. We should be embracing that, having open dialogue and good civil discourse. And it was beautiful to me. I just loved it. I was very touched at the end. I know they had asked me to give a report as a representative after my election. My nomination was either yay or nay. They said, then will you do that? And I said, yes. And I think I just kind of wanted to cry and say thank you for what a great experience I had meeting with everybody, really.
Right.
But I did have a good session. I've had a good couple of sessions. I've been in a year and a half now, just about a year and a half. And I feel like we've accomplished a lot of things. And when I say we, I really mean me and the citizens of Tooele County, because I feel like they're actually getting in there and helping more. And some of them are saying to me, I love that you alert me on this. Can you help me know about this issue? Or they're contacting me and telling me, did you know about this? And I'm asking questions for them. And I love to have that backup. And on some of the bills that were really important, I let a few of them know about it, and they were like, okay, I will start sending emails to the whole Senate right now for you for that bill, because they want to be part of the process. And I don't think just signing names at a door and never really getting to talk to your candidate that much, I don't think that that helps you really feel like you can engage with confidence, because you don't know the person enough to reach out. And all these people, they got my phone number, and
Well,
they're
that's what I was saying early on, was how I think you're probably one of the most, if not the most, uh, engaged representative who you're trying to find ways to get people through Facebook and socials, and you're doing town halls and they have your phone number, and you try to answer every email even during session, and you're trying to get in front of people all the time. I know this about you. You're a personal friend of mine, and I just adore you. And I just know how important you put the people in your life as a representative, with a lot of humility to even be there. It's like I've seen you at session. It's like you are so excited that you're even been chosen to have such an amazing job. But also, it's like you constantly are looking to the people for their feedback and their engagement. And I feel like you've stirred a lot of engagement, which as a party chair meant everything to me, because that's what I'm trying so hard, or was trying to do, is to get more people engaged with electeds, because they'll just go rogue if they're not hearing from people.
Mhm.
It's just what they want, and there's no guiding light. And it's like you have honed in on that light. And I know people could do more, but I don't know of another representative that has done more. So I applaud you for your hard work. And I know how important the people of this county, I know where they stand with you, that they are a top priority. And that makes me happy. And you're not even my representative.
Oh, I'll just be your little fill-in represent. No, you've had a great representative too, but I kind of like think of myself as, even though not all of Tooele County puts me in, it's interesting. I get people from Stockton, people from West Erta, even though I represent East Erta, people from different areas who will still call me for things, because probably what you're talking about, they know I'll pick up, they know I'll talk to them about it. They know that they maybe align with me on the issue, and they just feel like they can call, right?
Yeah.
And so they do. And it's some people I've never even heard of before. I mean, I ran an entire, like, huge heavy lift bill this year. It didn't get all the way through. It'll probably come back, for a student at Tooele High, but she doesn't actually live in my district. She goes to school in my district, but
Oh,
doesn't actually live right in Tooele City. She lives in Stockton. And so, but she reached out to me because her teacher said, hey, you can just reach out. And because the teacher lives in my district and gave her my number, then she just reached out, and I ended up running a really big bill for her. So anyway, I just love all of Tooele County, and I feel like the more united we are, the stronger we are, and we're gaining more strength at the Capitol, because I do confidently represent us. I don't feel like we should be pushed aside. We shouldn't be second best to Salt Lake County. I think we've had enough of that. We are the fastest growing county. We are attracting people in groves. We have a lot to offer. We are mineral rich. We are people rich. We've got good people with good brains and good hearts out here who are doing stuff. And I just feel like it's time for Tooele to just really shine and kind of lead out. And so I'm happy to step up and do that at the state the best I can.
Sorry, Mr. Producer, did you need to say something or add something? I'm sorry. Her and I can get lost in our conversation. And then I saw you pop up. So before I go on, Dwayne, did you want to add something?
No, I'm good. I got booted out, and then when I came back in, there I was on your screen. So
Oh, wow. Well, welcome back.
you guys go ahead. Sorry about that.
So this is something that I think, and this doesn't just, you don't have to just live in our county to understand, but hopefully there is something special. And I think if we find it more in rural areas in the world, but it is that neighbor feel and it is that community feel. And I think it sets us apart from Salt Lake City, for example, or Salt Lake County. I mean, I've lived in a lot of places around Utah and even in other states, and I've always tried to get to know my neighbors wherever I've lived. But, politically, it's not always something you do. And your parents have told you, don't talk politics or religion at a table. And now we've gotten into more tribal, angry, passionate political conversations over the last decade. And so it's even more taboo to discuss. But I think it's neat that in our community, and I wish this for every community, that it's more about knowing the neighbors and knowing that your neighbor is somebody that's going to the hill on your behalf. And when you do live in a small town, as fast as it's growing, I do love that there is still that. I think that's what sets us apart. No matter how big we grow, if we can feel like a small town where everybody knows everybody or knows somebody, that knows you and all of that, but they have their voices heard. I believe that is what caucus has preserved here in Utah.
Mhm.
And I hope that we keep fostering care to caucus and keep updating it and keep it going and keep delegates to keep showing up, because the work they do is important, and the issues they bring to people like you who are trying to represent us, those issues, they're everybody's issues.
Mhm.
I mean, I could sit here and we could talk issues all night and you will totally know what I'm talking about. And because even though you don't represent me, the issues that we focus around or that are important to me are important to you and to your family in the area you live in. And, it's just one boundary and we're not that far away from each other. But it does make that small town feel a reality. And I
Yeah.
wish it for everyone.
Yeah, I really appreciate those sentiments because I feel like that is one thing that our citizens really want is they want to preserve that culture of Tooele, that small town. I think people move out here because they're like, I want to be close enough to the city, but I don't want to be in that crazy of the city, right? That's
Yeah.
why so many people are out here in Tooele County. And I know that as I met with people, they were like, hey, help us with the infrastructure so that we can keep up with what we need. But could you figure out a way to not make us turn into Salt Lake? Because we don't want to be the next Magnet or West Valley. We want to stay to Willow. We want that unique identity that we have out here, which does have that more neighborly rural culture and feel. And I'm on board with that. I recently moved. Never thought we would, but we just moved to a different place in town. And I come into this new place in town and the neighbors are just so warm. I mean, we're talking, I was moving in on Christmas Eve. They were there instead of at their family parties, moving my family in. Someone even stuck a little tree up and put one ornament in the corner for me. I mean, it was like the cutest neighbors. And there were youth there. There were kids there. And it was Christmas Eve. And
Wow.
I'm like, are there any better people than this anywhere? I don't think there are. I just really felt like what a joy it is to live by these people, to be their friends. Whether I get to represent them or not, I am blessed by them. I am so blessed by them. And it is an honor. When you said I get excited at the Capitol when I see people and I'm like, hey, and come get involved and stuff. And this is because it is an honor for me. I mean, I could cry about that, Holly, because it's an honor to be given that amount of trust
Right.
by your neighbors, that they know you'll be honest, that they know that you will stand up for stuff when it's not popular, that they know that you will, protect their families, their way of life. And they know you're not going to be perfect, and you know you're not going to be perfect, and you're going to try your best, but they still, even though they know you're not going to be perfect, they feel like you're good enough to go in there for them. And that is a heavy weight to carry. It really is. And I feel it, and I honor it, and I really try to have that type of relationship with the people that lets them know that I am there for them. You mentioned something. This was interesting. You said that your parents used to tell you, don't talk about politics or religion at the table, right? I don't know how many times that I've heard that from people, like, just don't go there. Why? Because it's divisive. But then you immediately said, and now we live in a time where people are so much more aggressive and heated, right? And polarizing as they talk about religion and politics. And my thought to you is this: it's exactly because we haven't talked about religion and politics that people feel like they can't talk about religion and politics. You and I are different religions, but I could pray with you any day of the week.
Sure.
Any day. We fellowship with each other. We love each other. We honor each other's faiths and beliefs. And if there is a difference in belief, I believe we honor that too. Because you and I can actually talk about religion. And in fact, I can talk about religion to anybody.
Sure.
And with anybody, because I'm an open book. But also when it comes to politics, it's the same thing. It's just what you believe is right, wrong, good, bad, true, false. That's really what it comes down to. And if our society gets to a place where we can't talk about that without becoming wild animals, without thinking that everyone is evil if they don't think the same as us, then our society is going to have a problem.
Absolutely. And we are getting there. I mean, you see families are getting split up where they go no contact with each other because Trump you got some who hate him and some who love him. And yet they're my children, or they're my parents, or, just have a conversation about what your values are with the people you love. And then if they don't align with them, move on. Or find something where you can align. But to just say, oh, I can't be around them anymore, or never discuss it. I mean, I'm sorry, but politics is in every part of our life. It has every single part of our life. Somewhere politics comes in. And it's if you're not talking about it, I mean, at least my parents, we could talk about it around the table all the time. It was just like if you go to a friend's house.
Yeah, they were just warning you. It might not work out.
Yeah. And I've learned that, but that's just good manners, especially if you're in a home that disagrees with politics that your parents believe in. It's nice not to share what your parents believe in if it's not welcomed. Welcome back, Dwayne. Did you want to comment?
No, it just
okay.
It keeps dropping me out. I think I'm going to let you guys continue. I'm going to step out. Okay.
Will we lose the whole show if we do that? I worry, because he is the brains behind this operation. So with all that in mind,
you guys will continue going. I'm just going to hop out and come back in. So
you're the best. So what I wanted to, I said that about humility because so many times, and even before you went into politics, I recall certain electeds complaining about this woman who is at the Hill making everybody's life hell because of her stance on family values, on protecting children, on all these different books and things in school, that she just would not drop it. And it was so frustrating. And I knew your name before you ever made a call to me. And what's so funny is that I was curious, and I remember the first time you ever called me, and I just couldn't. I wanted to know, like, hey, are you bothering these guys? Like, what? And we talked for like 2 hours about everything under the sun, and especially about platform. in what our party represents. And that was something, I don't even know if you remember, but you had called me regarding our platform and those elected underneath the R who were not living up to it. And as a party chair, you reached out to me as the chair because you wanted to talk about that. And I was so ready to just dismiss you as a crazy person, but immediately knew just by talking to you that this wasn't something you do in your spare time because you're bored and want to ruffle feathers. You believed in this and you were fighting for your kids, but you also were fighting for my kids and for every other person's kids. And to me, it was so enlightening that first time that you'd ever called me. I got off the phone and I was like, this woman is amazing. Where, people call me too conservative. Even dear friends of mine that are Republicans are like, wait, you're way more conservative than me. Because I'm an absolutist over certain things, protecting children, free speech, the Constitution. I don't bend, and I don't like it when governments bend or my electeds bend that. So I think you calling me, it showed that we were birds of the same feather, and it kind of had an opposite impact. And then you came to one of our other meetings and you and I sat outside in the freezing cold. My husband is just, I think I had taken my shoes off because my feet were hurting, and we talked again for so long.
Right.
And I see your passion just coming through in everything you did. And I remember just thinking, this woman is so bold. And when you were elected, that's where I saw this grace and humility. Like you were, it's like, even when I see you now up there, you're not looking for fame. You're trying to get along and try to get people on board, but you're not bending on your values. And I think that's hard to do in government. I think people too often are willing to bend on their values to get a win, even though that win isn't exactly a win when you've had to give up things that are that important.
Right.
And then I see you going the extra mile, and with young people that come up there, and with different groups. And sometimes you're the only one standing for something that we all should be standing behind, but you're doing it unapologetically, knowing that it may not put you in the best light to some, or as a team player, or whatever it is. And that to me is a true leader. And so I think that not only do I love you because we're friends and all of that, but I think that just, if that was how every representative of the people was, we'd have a full different country. We'd have a totally different DC.
Mhm.
And I just love that about you, that every second I see you in that role, it's like you yourself are just so grateful to be there.
Mhm.
And that you don't see. People get in and now they're public servants, and how great I'm doing, and how this and that and this, and these are my scorecard here. And yet for you, it's like, well, I've not done enough. There's still so much. And so I'm glad that you were chosen to go ahead and get another opportunity at serving, and another couple of years. And this is where I wanted to lead to, is I want to know, I think we've had you on since session, or at least we had you on during
Yeah,
session.
for sure during we did. I can't remember. So much has happened. It goes by
Yes.
fast. And I went straight from session to the UN, and then I had some parenting conferences in some different places that I had to go, and I had a son get married. I don't know if we have done since. So I've done other things, town halls and such, but I'm not sure if we were able to get together.
We haven't done it since the town hall, and I did it. I did a small like feedback about your town hall on the show with Jared, because thankfully I was there, and letting people sign the Prop 4 stuff, and you explained it to everyone. And I told people how you had a couple haters there, that I was so, I don't want people thinking that my whole idea of you is skewed because we're friends. I explain it like, if I didn't know you and I was just a fly on the wall in that time, it was pretty contentious about Prop 4. I know because I was gathering those signatures for that, and I had two people kind of fight me about it. And I said, you don't have to sign it. It's okay. You can go sit down, go enjoy the town hall. You don't have to sign it. I don't want to argue with you. And if you've made up your mind. But then I noticed that you, before everything started, you sought out those people before everything started, and you created a conversation with those people. And that, to me, I mean, that is something I would do, because I want to know why they're upset, and I want to understand that point of view. And I can't be a good leader if I don't understand the people that are unhappy with me.
Mm.
I represent everybody, not just Republicans. And you always say at your town halls that you want everyone to come. You're there representing everyone. But I was so touched by that you looked at the people that were very angry. In fact, the woman sitting in a huff with her sign and everything, and you went right up to her and you were so gracious. And she left with all the steam out. Like you had just taken all the anger out of her, and she stayed for the whole thing. And you answered her questions, and then you just took the fight out of her because you treated her with respect. You listened to what she had to say. You gave her answers, and like them or not, she also returned that same respect and sat there quietly and appreciative and asked questions, offered disagreement. And to me, that is what leadership looks like. It was really amazing.
Thank you, Holly. So I had that town hall. I did have another one actually after session 2, but that one was really interesting because there were, like you said, a few people who I think came wanting to find fault, I think, probably. And if there's one thing that I always tell myself about everything, whether it's in a family setting, a business setting, a public service setting, whatever it is, it's all about the people. Everything is about the people. It's not about the agenda. It's not about the time frame that you have. It's not about the publicity. It's about the people. And I truly do value the people, and I like to actually hear opposing viewpoints. I think there's some people who shy away from them and feel like if they get an opposing viewpoint, then that must mean that they don't like that. Oh, well, that person doesn't like me, so I'm just not going to talk to them. They're just a waste of my time. And for me, I don't think that's a waste of my time. I feel like, well, if that person does not think the same way as I do about something, if they've got a problem with maybe one of my bills or something like that, or a way that I voted, well, I want to hear about it. I want to actually know. I mean, hopefully they can be diplomatic and, have good civil discourse and stuff. They may not, though. Even so, I want to hear it because I want to know where the people are coming from. And I feel like if I give them the courtesy to hear them and to see them, then maybe they'll lose some of that closed-mindedness, and they'll become a little bit more open-minded and give me that same courtesy. I do believe that good policy is built on open-mindedness, not closed-mindedness. Now, probably because when you first were introduced to my name and who I was from certain legislators that were up there, I can think of one in particular who would not give me a glowing review that there was a close-mindedness about me, right?
Yeah.
And even though I had something strong that I was trying to do to protect children, because I really do care about children so much. And we can talk about some of the bills that I'm going to be working on coming up that will be along those lines. But that they probably thought I'd be closed-minded to any solutions. No, I wanted a conversation. I didn't want the conversation to stop because we needed to get to a solution that could work, that to protect the children. So I'm actually reasonable and open-minded, even though I am strong in my principles. And I think you can be both. And I think that other people can be both too. So I don't like to go around making enemies. I don't feel like that serves me well. And I will say, my opponent in this nomination race that I was in at convention, she and I had a couple of conversations here and there. We didn't talk a ton. I knew what she thought of a lot of my bills and things, because she'd been pretty open about that she wasn't on the same page with me with some things that I, really felt strongly about, and that some of the citizens of the county had, been strong about supporting as well. But she had a different view. I knew that. But even so, you gotta give it to a person who's gonna run. It takes guts, right? It takes so much guts. And I was proud of her. She did a good race. She really worked hard. She did so many great things. I mean, she was making cookies the night before convention, she told me, until like, I don't know the time, but that's love right there. You know what I mean? Like she was really trying her very best to do what she could to have a fair chance in the
She
race.
was very kind, and she was very smart. Very smart. Like she's an amazing person.
She is, and she came up to me, to her credit. To her credit, she came up to me at the end of all of it, and she congratulated me, and she said thank you to me. She said, thank you for running the type of campaign that you did. Thank you for being respectful. Thank you for, all this kind of stuff. And then she said, and it might have even been hard for her to say, I don't know, but she said it to me and it touched me deeply. She said, you know what? I will be supportive of you.
That's great.
And when you run against a person and they win you, it could be you could choose to get hateful and say, well, I'm going to vote Democrat instead of Republican just because, or whatever. But she said, I'm going to be supportive of you. And I just felt like that right there shows a lot about her character.
I agree.
And about what a great person she was. So I really felt like we had a great race, and I felt like she handled herself really well.
You both were great. And I know in this county, respectful campaigning goes a long way. The voters of this county, something I've learned in almost a decade of serving in the role that I have, is that they don't like a muddy race. They are more prone to hear the issues, and rather than badmouth somebody, share what you can do better or you can do different. And that's something that I'd like to get into with you. The issues, right? After this last session, I know there's still a lot to be done. If you were to put things on a scale, like, or priority lists of things that you want to focus on going forward, what would your top 3 be?
Wow. Well, one of them is really important to me, and that is my bill related to CSAM, to child porn. So going into this last session, well, actually starting my very first session, I ran a bill that basically would make it so that people who've been victims of child porn, and I'm talking about like they're a child who's been abused, okay? So I'm talking about they've been put on the computer somewhere. People have seen it. They've had their face put on a sex doll. They've had, horrible things that have happened to them and been videotaped.
They've been trafficked, or
exactly.
the parent is currently abusing them in the home.
Right. So, so I want to be clear about that. I'm not just talking about like people who see child porn. I'm talking about people who are the victims of it, like who are really, truly in it. Okay. And going into session a couple of years ago, I think I could get this wrong. It was like 1 or 2 states, I think only, this was in the 2025 session, who had passed a law that allowed those victims to be able to do a civil action lawsuit against the person who had done all of that perpetrating on them. And those people who are sending that stuff out to everybody, okay, who are purveying it out there. And so there's criminal actions that can be taken, but that doesn't actually give any restitution to the victim. That doesn't help them pay for a lifetime of therapy and all of that. You have to have a civil
This,
action for that.
this is like, and I'm sorry, but this when you say this, it's making me think of when someone files a wrongful death lawsuit. Now they have the option to civilly, like in the O.J. Simpson trial, for example, the family didn't get that verdict, but they still had discovery and evidential, but it's not a beyond a reasonable doubt criteria that's required, but it still allows for victims to seek compensation in a civil court, which is financial compensation. Is that's what you're saying? Is this victim, you'd still, and it doesn't require a beyond a reasonable doubt for the jury to come up with. It's not as severe
Mhm.
a proof meter.
Yeah,
It
and
still requires a jury to find guilt in the perpetrator.
right. I mean, it has to go through all the rigor of a court case. I mean, it's going to be a big thing to go through. But if they have damages, I mean, there was, oh, I'm going to tell a story. It's a sad story, and I'm not going to do any personal identifying information in this story. But there was a young man who was in our state, and he was used for this child porn significantly when he was little. And he would go places, all, for years and years. He would go places. People would come up to him and say, "Oh man, I've seen your movies. Oh, you're the best. You're the bomb. You're epic. You're so," like talking to him about his abuse like that, right? So he can't hide. He can't get away from it. It's been
Change your face.
all over the world, the abuse of this little boy. Okay. So his family tries to get help. Other families are trying to get help federally, saying, can we federally do something to get damages? Because in the states, there's not laws for this. And so they took it all the way to the federal courts. And even before there was a federal thing, Orrin Hatch actually created a fund for these types of kids that people could donate to heal, to help these kids find healing, therapy, all the things that they would need, because there wasn't even something at the federal level. So then we finally got something at the federal level. So the states finally started getting the cue. So in 2025, there was like maybe one, maybe two states who had actually passed a law that allowed for these civil actions to happen. I filed the bill. It didn't get any traction that first year because lots of bills take years. I mean, you could do a bill for 10 years. There's some stuff I've been working on before I was even a legislator that I'm still working on. Okay. And so that situation is huge. And so anyway, I filed it again this session. At that point, there was 3 states who now had passed bills. So the states are starting to do it, right? And I really wanted Utah to jump in there and be one of those first ones. And it made it through the House. It had a slow go in the House. It got assigned to a committee, and then the committee was like acting like they weren't going to hear it and that they weren't going to see it. And I had to push and push and push and say, why are you not seeing this bill? This is so important. We're talking about kids who are being really badly abused. They need to be able to sue. And finally, they saw it, and then it passed the committee, and it passed the House, and then it went to the Senate. It took a little while in the Senate to get in committee again, and then it passed the committee, and then it died on the board, sadly, on the Senate floor. So that one's going to come back. It'll be year 3. But we now have, after this last legislative session across the nation, 2 other states have passed this bill. So now we have 5 states who've passed this bill. So it is time. Utah needs to get this thing done so that we can protect these children and give them a civil action. So that is going to be a big priority for me to get that thing done. I already have refiled it. Today is the first day of filing. So you can start filing things and getting the attorneys up there to start working on them and drafting them. And that one will be easy because we've already worked on it now for 2 years. So it should be able to be a nice cut and dry. So anyway, that one's a big one. Another one that's huge for me is the one related to what's happening on the databases at schools. And I know that this one's been, I think, for everybody to wrap their heads around the fact that what's really happening on the school databases is happening. And I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but before there was the book debate about bad books in the schools and stuff, I actually had brought up to the legislature that in the school databases, there was like hardcore porn stuff in there. It was like multiple men doing stuff to a girl, a teenage girl.
Is this in a book that's represented at
No,
the library? Or
No,
what
it
do you
was
mean?
in the databases that they researched to do reports. And I even went on the TV about it. There was a senator who said, "Will you please go on the news about it?" I said yes, and I did. And then that senator even, contacted me after and said, "Nicolene, I just went in because I was just typing in video games, like in the hobbies and crafts section of the EBSCO database." Okay, that was it. And the stuff that came up, the graphic, nude sex acts. I mean, to see a girl strapped down with men doing stuff to her and other men sitting there on their phones acting like they don't care that this is the most normal thing in the world was horrifying to me.
So it was website that popped up?
No, it's not a website. It's a database. So what a database is it's a curated educational resource that is programmed into the Chromebooks.
Wow.
Okay. And this kind of stuff we found out about, and I was blown away. I was like, no way this is happening in Utah. And sure enough, it was. And so then I started drawing attention to it. And obviously it was not popular to draw attention to. Because people are like, no way, you're making this up. You're just trying to, and this is probably where that particular legislator was like, she's fanatical, or whatever, because they were like, how could that get through? And I'll tell you how it gets through. We create a contract with database companies. The database companies are supposed to determine if stuff is clean, but the voluminous amount of stuff that's put in there and all the different databases that are put in, there's no way that they can humanly search all of it and vet it. So they have to trust the companies who are putting these things into the schools to actually vet those things. And when we exposed it initially back in 2018, the database company, the EBSCO database company, said to UETN, which holds the contract for the state of Utah, "Oh, we didn't know you wanted the filters on."
That's not even a filter situation for a child using a Chromebook. That you don't filter that out. That's not even proper for adult consumption without an adult actually seeking it out. So to put it in,
why would you seek it out on your library database?
An educational computer, come on.
Yeah, and require the state to pay for it with taxpayer dollars to do that to kids. So then there were board members at that time, state board members, who actually spoke up and said, my child was first exposed to porn on the school database. And I did not believe him that it would pop up. I got angry at him thinking he was searching it. No, now I see how easy it is for this stuff to pop up. This is not okay.
Right.
And so we started working on this issue. And then the conversation changed to the books, and that got this national, attention. And so the database is kind of like conversation sort of slowed down a little bit. But as soon as I got in, I knew that I needed to handle that. And I wrote a bill about it. But not only did I want that stuff not to be there, just when they're searching for things like daddy and video games and stuff, but I also knew that they were selling to the kids in there. And it just made my skin crawl to think that taxpayers were paying millions of taxpayer dollars a year for subscriptions that would actually put sales pages in front of their children where the children can buy kratom and vapes and online betting and gaming stuff that the parents would never want them to see, and sex toys, and the gamut. I mean, even if it's silly putty slinkies and skateboards, even if it seems benign, why are we selling to a child in an educational resource that it's provided through the public schools?
It's almost like you're endorsing it because it is a taxpayer funded resource. And so the kids think it's okay
Well, nobody's vetting all of that. And the thing is those things come through. If you could go in and you could type in kratom, which I did. If you want to watch the hearing for this in the Senate hearing, they shot it down. And I think it was politics is
what kratom? I don't know what that is.
Oh, it's like a really heavy drug. It's like next level. I don't even want to call it marijuana. It's like it's not marijuana. It's a really strong drug, and there's a lot of harms and side effects that could come with it.
Is it like Special K? Is that what it's
right? It's in that same exactly. It's in that same category exactly. And so anyway, you can see me on the hearing. I do a search right in front of them. I'm like, look, and here was the other really gross thing is that I had shown the USBE about it. They knew. They contacted the database. They contacted UETN and the database company, and they said, which is the Gale database company, GALE, and they said, this is not okay. And so they had it removed. And guess what? 2 days later, the same exact ad popped up with a new item number in the database, so I could search the same thing and get the same thing again. So they were putting it in 2 days after USBE asked to have it removed.
So that's not a mistake.
Oh, no way. That is not a mistake. And so this is the type of thing that I was trying to solve. And so to say this is important to me is an understatement. I just believe that it is exploitation to sell to a child. Like I said, doesn't even matter if it's bubble gum. It's exploitation to sell to a child, to give links to a child in a school database that would take them to something like that, and to do a whole sales page that masquerades as an article. Give me a break. I mean, it's a total like wolf in sheep's clothing. The thing is like straight up sales. That's all.
Imagine how many children who their parents have been very diligent on their computer time and on all that stuff at home. How many children get exposed to something like that in a school setting? And pornography is like a drug for teenagers, and it's so dangerous for their brains and their developing brains. People don't understand. It literally is messing with their gray matter and how they think and feel and project into the future with their lives. I mean, intimately. That is so dangerous.
Right.
And you can be a parent doing everything you possibly can, and it's their Chromebook that exposes them.
Right. Their school, they're doing their homework.
That if there's not an argument for homeschooling out there, I don't know what is better than that right there.
Yeah, it's really sad. And we do have right now a lot of parents have a distrust of the school. So this doesn't help. So as a state, I mean, it seems like a no-brainer that we would say you can't sell. So I made what I would call the perfect bill that could handle all of this stuff, okay? And could make the vetting possible and better and all of this. But the committee in the House, some key people said, hey, you need to drill this down even more simple. We got it down to basically the statement that just says you can't sell to children in the school. Even though there would still be other things that I know that would be in there that we'd have to work on at a later time, I drilled it down to that one statement. You just cannot sell to the children. And there was database company, EBSCO database company, who was lobbying, and their lobbyist was up there working with other legislators, and we kicked EBSCO out of our state because they ultimately did not end up complying. And we said, okay, we've had enough with you. But for some reason, I'm running a bill that basically says Gale can't sell. Well, no one can sell to the children, but it would target Gale. And here's EBSCO wanting to put, and other databases and people wanting to put other things in there that would weaken it, that would say, well, let's add a word that says this, so that would make it so that they wouldn't have to really vet it, so that they could kind of get out of it. And I was like, this is what we're battling. We have these people who are actually trying to protect this filth going to kids. They're trying to protect it. So, Gale never came to the table on it, but USBE contacted our connections with the database and said, remove this. So they knew it was a problem, and it came back 2 days later. 2 days was
Did
on.
Did you have fights with anyone up there? Did certain legislators not see a problem with this? Did it pass the House and Senate?
I don't think okay. The Democrats don't like these sorts of bills. So that's, so whatever. I just have to expect that. I don't think they have
But
problems.
explain that to me.
Sexual content going to the
Democrats,
kids in the school. I don't know.
My neighbors are Democrats and they're still parents.
Yeah, well, I don't know. It's interesting because some of them will say, well, I don't have a problem with sexual content on the Chromebooks, but I do have a problem with our kids being addicted to their Chromebooks. And I was like, okay, well, let's just start there. Let's do that. So I don't know exactly where the Democrats were on this per se, except for that they voted against it when it was on the House floor. Okay, so they were against it. But it did pass through the House. The problem really did occur in the Senate, on the Senate side. And I think they were really trying to get me not to hear it, not to talk about it. And I was incessant. I'm like, no, I'm going to have that hearing. And even if you shoot it down, which I knew they were going to do, because there were some forces going against it in the Senate, that I said, I'm still going to have this hearing. And I just determined for my hearing, I was just going to say, okay, this is this problem I'm trying to solve with this bill. Here's how you search for Kratom. Boom. Just so you know, this was taken down just a couple of days ago. It's back again. So here's the problem. They're selling this to kids. And so then I said, I'm just going to show them. I'm going to log in as a child and show them how I do it. And then they are going to have to choose to still go no with the pressure that's against them to go no. And they did. They still went no. And
are we talking money with the lobbyists that engaged with our senators to?
I don't know if there's money. I can't speak to that.
I don't see any positive. I don't know how anyone defends it.
Yeah, I don't know if there's any money that is part of the conversation that's like, hey, we're EBSCO or we're Gale and we're going to give you money. I don't know about that. I think that there were some people who wanted to solve the problem their way, maybe. That might be a thing. I think if you asked them, that's what they'd say. That they wanted to solve it their way. And, and there was a bill that was written along the same lines, except for, see, the thing about me is I actually read all the language in the bills, and I read the language and went through it, fine-tooth comb, and I was like, this language right here, yeah, it does just what the UN does. Makes everything sound like it cares about you and it's going to protect you, but it actually just opens it up wide open so that now no one's protected. So it like talks out one side of its mouth and then does another thing. And I believe that language was probably suggested by a vendor or something. That would be my guess. And so, it was I think that some people said, we want to make parents feel comfortable with their resources and their databases this way. And then other people wanted to make it, my way. And so it could very well be that that very bill was drawn up. I don't know this to be true, but it could be, because this is a political strategy that happens, that sometimes a bill is drawn up just to muddy the waters to kill another bill. So it could be that the vendors, people wanting to sell and get money from taxpayers and from the state, keep that in mind, okay? Vendors crafted a bill, and that bill was supposed to make things muddy so that my bill couldn't get through. But my bill is not going away. I mean, I think even if they were to say, we've cleaned up all the selling, you don't have to say anything, I would say, then what's wrong with having a bill saying you can't sell? Because there's no way that Nicolene Peck's job is to monitor and to babysit every computer in the state of Utah that a child uses. That's not my job. We are paying people for a certain product, and we better get what we're paying for. And that's what I say.
I just don't understand how something like this, the senators that I know personally, I don't understand why they wouldn't get behind it. What could possibly be an excuse for not saying, this makes sense, let's do this? If the language is an issue, let's figure out the language. Let's work with the sponsor, and let's figure out a way to make sure that our kids aren't getting sold to or getting, inappropriate content on a taxpayer machine that's built for education.
I agree, Holly. I 100% agree. And I think, as I was talking to senators, one-on-one, they're going to say, yeah, we don't want that stuff being sold. Okay.
To your face.
But then there's politics, Holly.
Yeah.
Then there's politics where somebody somewhere says, don't vote for that, or I'm voting no on all your bills, or don't do that, or, whatever. And so it turns out to be, and if you think of it, I mean, yeah, I don't want to get into all the nuts and bolts, but as I look at the whole thing and how it all rolled down, it was very strategic.
It's gross is what it is. I don't like this. I think this is I don't know the details of the bill, but in just the synopsis you've given me, this makes absolute sense. If you've got the school board who has literally had an experience personally with their own children coming out about it, and you've got the bills written in such a way that it's simple and it says, don't sell to our kids. I mean, I don't understand what possibly motivates somebody to go, yeah, I'm going to fight this. Yeah, I'm going to muddy this up. Like, I don't get it, other than it's almost demonic. It's like, it's evil. Why? You have found something that is literally a problem, the taxpayers' burden, and it's hurting our kids.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Why would somebody
and that's
not?
why it's so heartbreaking, and this is why politics is not for the faint of heart. Okay,
Right.
Holly, this is why, because I've been working on this issue. I've known about this issue since 2018.
Wow.
Chip. We're 8 years in, Holly. Is it going to take a full 10? I don't know.
That is disgusting.
Chip, just to try to protect children in the school, which, like you are saying, is 100% a no-brainer.
Yeah. Yeah, this isn't a free speech issue.
Even USB is
An artistic
on board with me with this, right?
I can see where people get angry when Republicans want to ban books. And I can see their point of view that, yeah, this is an author, they wrote a book, and I will fight tooth and nail for them to have them in public libraries. Kids or people should have access to books in the public arena. But in my school, absolutely not. I don't need my child learning sex from a book written with all these different things in mind or whatever. I don't need it when I have a gun to my head that my child has to go to public school. I don't have a choice there unless I homeschool them. So to me, certain books should not be in public paid for schools. they can go to the libraries where parents are responsible to decide what their child can check out or whatever. So I will have those arguments on an artistic, author argument and free speech and all that. But when it comes to public school access, or the fact that my kid's on a Chromebook and the Chromebook is teaching him every single day, and I mean, I don't get to sit in the classroom and see everything, and someone has just found this, and I'm sure there's tons of students who know about it. They're not telling their parents. And the ones who are, their parents, are going to people like you. They're saying, hey, this is not good. And it's a no-brainer. And we've got people actively trying to call you a crazy person. Or this is just some issue that she won't let go of. She's a dog with a bone when it comes to something like this. And they put you in a light that makes it look like you're too conservative. You're trying to put, kids in the little corner and not let them be exposed to anything that isn't your values or whatever. And that is not the case at all.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the biggest problem I have with politicians. They will say right to your face, they agree with you, they understand what you're talking about, they love their kids, and they don't want this to happen for your kids, and then vote against you.
Mm-hmm.
And say, oh no, you don't understand, it's the writing in the bill, or it's you forgot this issue and we have this issue. And it's like, wait a minute, you told me to my face this is a problem, it's expensive, we're paying for it, you have the opportunity to fix it, and you just buried it. You have a whole house of representatives who are all for it, and we're 8-9 years in and it's still an issue.
Well, I think if it would have come out on the Senate floor, if I'm completely honest, I think if it would have come out on the Senate floor, it would have passed. But they had
It's the powers that be.
They had to kill it in committee. They had to get it into a committee that would kill it.
I cannot fathom on what grounds does a group of people decide this doesn't deserve the attention of the Senate.
Right.
And how terrible does that make our Senate look when committees are killing something that is such a no-brainer? And the fact that Democrats can't get behind it also blows my mind.
Mm-hmm.
It blows my mind, because it's not a political issue. It is a common sense way to protect my tax dollars and to protect. What if they're selling Bibles to your kid? Would Democrats then go, no, we don't want you selling things to kids online? Would that get them to change their mind?
There you go. I mean, that's a good question.
We don't want them selling to kids, period.
That's it. It's everything. And here's the exact language. I'll read it to you. I got them on my phone right here in the bill. Here's the meat of the bill. On line 229 of, it was HB 197, it says, a vendor may not sell or promote goods or services through a digital instructional material the vendor provides to a contracting entity. That's all it says.
Wow. That's really controversial.
There you go. Anyway, so
I'm disgusted. I'm glad you shared that. So
yeah. So that's anyway. So that one is that one's gonna come back. I mean, they just can't get rid of me on that issue. I can't stop that on that issue. It's too important. And is it tiring? Yeah. And I think a lot of people, they'll try something. If it doesn't work, they go, oh well. But I can't go, oh well, on this. I can't.
I'm gonna check my kid's Chromebook tonight.
Yeah, and it's just like I can't go, oh well, on child porn and them not being able to get restitution. I can't go, oh well, on that either. This is the most graphic, horrific something that could happen.
We can barely get prosecutions
Right.
for the very people producing it. And the United States of America is the #1 consumer of this. And we're also probably in the top 2 of the biggest producers of it. And the fact that there is no there's no way for a victim to get justice in that way.
Mhm.
I'm baffled. Utah should be leading the charge. Right now, our Attorney General is leading the charge on a number of issues regarding social media and child and SA and all of the things that are affecting our
He's
kids.
doing a lot. He really is. And I've worked with him on a lot of bills.
Yes, he's been very vigilant. This should be a no-brainer for our Congress here.
That's what I think too. So you asked me for my top 3. Those would be my top 2. My third one would be another one. This one I think should go through, no problem. Is a human growth video that will be shown in schools. It needs to be like 3 minutes. They can go longer if they want, but it needs to be a 3-minute video that basically shows like an ultrasound, the development of a baby. So we used to show a movie in classrooms, and it's still available that they could show it, called The Meaning of Life. It's a Nova video. It ends with a kind of a graphic birth, and I don't think people are showing that.
I think it's a National Geographic video, and it's called Life. If you're talking about the same one, I got it when I was pregnant, and it was all those things. It shows the flash that happens when the egg meets the sperm. I mean, it shows you that little flash, and then it also shows you how all of the sudden these cells start to pulsate all at the same time, and they become the heart.
Mhm.
It is phenomenal. I recommend it to everyone I know that's pregnant. But it's
Right.
called Life, and it's put out by National Geographic, and it's phenomenal.
So see, there's these videos that are out there, but we are still in some classrooms calling a baby a clump of cells.
Right.
And they're like, no, it's very clearly alive. And that heart starts beating at 3 weeks and 1 day from fertilization. Now, a lot of people will say, well, from last menstrual cycle, it's 5 weeks. And that's the argument against this bill. That's what the people who are pro-abortion and stuff that are saying against this bill, hey, that's not accurate, because from last menstrual cycle, it's like 5 weeks and something or whatever when you can see the heartbeat. But most women don't get pregnant at their menstrual cycle. Most of them get pregnant a couple of weeks later, and actually, or somewhere in there, and actually that heart starts beating at 3 weeks and 1 day, because they've actually filmed it. They've been able to film this happening,
Right.
and they know. And so it's from fertilization. So the life cycle from fertilization. There's so many women who have their babies early. Why? Well, because actually their baby wasn't from that menstrual cycle. It was from a couple of weeks before, or
Right.
whatever, right? And so, women, you have to go from when actual fertilization from conception. So it's a conceptual age, and it will show that. That actually made it through the House flying colors, made it through the Senate committee. It also just did not get time to finish. So I'm hoping to bring that one back and have that one come through. I also had a resolution that came out right at the end of the session that did not, it made it, it didn't make it. It didn't have time. It had a lot of support, but it didn't make it. And that resolution basically would say that it would call upon Congress, U.S. Congress, to work with our states on dissolving the Department of Education, so that the Department of Education could not control the curriculums and the methodology of instruction. We would still get the money that would come from the federal, because the way that that's all worked out is a whole other thing, and the states are used to getting those federal dollars that come through the federal taxes and all that kind of stuff. So we would still get the money, but it would make it so that the states would just completely decide, and the federal government would be hands off. And that's the way it's really supposed to be for local control in education.
Well, that's what Trump said during his campaign, that
Right.
he would get rid of the Department of Education's power on education throughout the states, let them legislators. I think it's in Florida where they have their legislators, the representatives of the people, based on their districts, choose the curriculum for their schools, which I thought was a phenomenal idea because I want someone accountable for situations like what my child is learning.
Yeah. And
I've
the
got to be able to go to someone and go, hey, why are you teaching this?
Trump administration was in a really big support of this coming out. It just didn't have time to do what it needed to and stuff. And so that'll be coming back this next year, but they were massively supportive. In fact, they were like, hey, could you please run this? You know, like, I mean, they were really like, we need to get this going and the states need to take action. And I was like, I couldn't agree more. You know, this is something that I've felt for a long, long time. If the states could just have control over their education, they wouldn't have a scapegoat. They wouldn't say, well, the federal, so,
Yeah.
you know, and then it wouldn't depend on which administration is in. The states would just decide. And then the people would be able to vote out the people approving that education too, because you can't vote out the Department of Education.
No, you're right.
You can vote out your state school boards. You can vote out your local school boards. You can vote out your legislators. And this brings us back to, okay, that representative form of government, you know, which is good. I've got some other bills that I'm filing and I'm running. I don't think we need to talk about all of those, but I've started getting the bills, you know, in the queue, getting the drafters working on them. Some of them are bills that have been suggested to me by people in the county. And so, you know, it's going to be good. I've got a bill that I'm working on with our county clerk, with Tracy Shaw, because she's noticed that there's something that could be improved. Maybe even a couple of things that can be improved from in the clerk's office if it was made legal in the state. So we're going to take a look at some of those things. Anyway, we've got some stuff that we're working on.
I'm really excited. There's a bill or two that people asked me if I were to run, if I would push it. And I said that I promise you that I will put you in touch with somebody to do that. So I'm going to let you know one of those bills is also a principal from school that he would like to see on the Hill. So I know that's something that you'd be the perfect representative to bring that to.
I'd be happy to look at that, especially since I'm in the education committee. So yeah.
Yeah, great. Well, this one is an educator, but it's something that involves the state in advertising going out to Wendover. So it's really pinpointed in our county.
Okay.
And it's the billboards that you see on your way out about dancing girls and alcohol and
Oh,
all
I am
things.
so the person for that.
I know. I said, oh, and this kind of freaks me out that you can't advertise that, nor would you in any other part, but you can put it along the highway in Tooele County. That's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We had that debate in our county years ago. I mean, that was back in the day when Sean Milne was on the county commissioners board. And so I know it was a while back, but there were some billboards that were not okay that I actually brought to the county commissioner's attention and said, how come we're doing that?
You're talking about the plastic surgery one.
Uh-huh.
Right?
That was me that actually.
Where girls basically half naked.
Yeah.
On a billboard going into Tooele County. I remember that.
Yeah. And these people from Lake Point were saying, how come our kids have to pass by this on the school bus?
Yeah.
How come that is okay to show to children on the side of the road? You know, and so I get it. In fact, we navigated that, and that person did pull it down. And I don't know if you remember, but after the naked girl, then the same billboard space, all of a sudden there was this big pair of eyes. Anyway, it was like a different thing, but it was the same company. They went ahead and pivoted. They took note and they passed it. And guess what? Some of the really bad billboards that have broken state law, advertising, kratom and stuff in our county, that have been out in Lake Point, I have gotten some of those removed. And then, of course, new ones crop up, and then we have to determine, are they in accordance with state law or not? Because there are specific laws about what can be advertised and what cannot be advertised in relation to marijuana. And this is actually an issue. I wish people understood when we went down that road of medical marijuana and it went on the ballot, we ended up not getting medical marijuana. We ended up getting recreational. That's what we ended up getting.
Yeah, but
And-
we voted against recreational. Remember? I mean,
But
people said medical's fine, but not recreational.
but then it still
And-
turned into recreational.
Yeah, get your card and you can.
And it's actually because it was put on an initiative on the ballot like that. And so these ballot initiatives are really an issue. And I know we've talked about this, and you mentioned Prop 4 earlier, which was also, of course, a ballot initiative, which we are now seeing massive problems with. The courts are legislating from the bench and stepping over Constitution like crazy, because they're not even obeying the articles in the Constitution about these particular things. Anyway, we have had these ballot initiatives like Medicaid expansion, which almost bankrupted the state. If we would not have had representatives in there to say, okay, wait, but we have also a constitutional mandate to balance the budget.
Right.
We can't do that Medicaid expansion because that will take all of our education money. That will take everything. That will make the taxpayers have to pay so much money in taxes in order to be able to do that. We can't do that. And if there weren't representatives that you could vote out at that point we would be living in a massively way higher taxed state than we are now. And so this is where these super laws coming in through the ballot is turning us into California, right?
Oh yeah.
And this is the way that they lost a lot of their representation and being able to solve problems constitutionally. And so, but the same thing happened with a lot of those, with like the marijuana stuff like that. And now it's turned to, okay, now we got Kratom billboards and we got all this kind of stuff that's going. And so I've gotten some of those removed too. So yeah, happy to work on that issue. But people, people need to be watching out. Conversations are happening. People are talking about, okay, what do we do about this legislation from the bench? What's happened with Diana Gibson?
Right.
What's happened with, the state's constitution in these matters? And really, if we go the direction of ballot initiatives to change things and turn them into super laws, like the Supreme Court in our state ruled when we were having the conversation about Amendment D 2 elections ago, okay? And the Supreme Court didn't even allow it on the ballot and all these things that happened, which shouldn't be their jurisdiction. But anyway, that's just my 2 cents. So anyway, they, at that time, we ended up tipping now the scales to, are we going to put stuff in action with one vague phrase and it's scripted by who? Somebody that's making money? Is it the porn industry? Is it the unions? Is it the whatever? Who scripts these things? Because they put in millions and millions of dollars to script these ballot initiatives in these states that have super laws like this. Are we going to allow them to come in and essentially just fool us all and make laws? Or are we going to allow our elected representatives that we can elect in or we can elect out if we don't like what they're doing? And
People we can fire.
Yeah, and we're going to hold them accountable. Or are we going to let them solve the problems in the, yes, albeit messy process, sometimes time-consuming process? We just had to talk about 8 years working on a concept, right? But that's how you know it's the real process.
Can I just say 2 issues there, especially when it's someone coming from another state, a state that is not well run like California. And you get to the point where people don't understand this. As badly as you want something on the ballot, when you see the percentage of people who actually vote versus how many people live in this state, it would baffle your mind that such a small amount of people are deciding something so huge like a super law for the whole. It doesn't compute to me
And it's
because
all based on propaganda and money. That's the other
yes,
horrid thing.
absolutely. It's whoever has the most money to create the best video, the best quick, simple video that is played out mostly to young people to get them excited to go vote. And I mean, Prop 4, what that passed with how many thousand people? It's like
Oh, it was so small.
3,000, 3,600 people out of 3 million that make a decision for the entire
It
state.
was so small, and the percentages on that were like, I mean, I don't have them memorized, but it was so close. It was like 51.2 whatever to 49 point. I mean, it was not clear. It
Like
was
with 1%.
Yeah, it wasn't a clear victory. It wasn't and to have it be something that would mandate to the legislature and even, make it so that the courts now are going to mandate to the legislature and they're going to go over the top of the Constitution. I mean, we got to repeal that. We have to repeal Prop 4. I mean, I'm not saying that there's anyone per se working on that right now, but there are conversations that are happening, and I would be in support of that.
Do you know what's going on with it?
Well, I mean, at this point, there's no definitive action. We signed. Are you talking about the
Repeal.
Oh, the signatures that we signed that our party, the GOP, actually did? Okay.
Yeah.
So we turned in, we had a whole bunch of signatures, way more than we needed. And then there were a